What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be doing my mock draft 1.0. I'm going to be going over the first 10 picks in a little more depth, but I'm going to go through every pick in depth. This is like my first kind of one. I've done a lot, just kind of like throughout the last month or so. For this one, I'm going to be going over in depth, and I'm going to be explaining every one of my picks. So we start off with the Jacksonville Jaguars at number 1. I mean, this is obvious. Come on, guys. Aiden Hutchinson, highest graded edge defender. He's fast, he's quick, and he is strong. He's really athletic, and he's already ready. He's developed, but he also has more potential. I see him as a guy who's going to be instantly maybe a top half kind of edge the day he starts, and I think he's going to work his way up to be one of the best in the league. I just think he's great, and I think this just makes sense for the Jaguars. They franchise tagged Cam Robinson, their left tackle, and for me, it doesn't make sense to franchise tag a left tackle and then draft one. And also, their defense just needs so much more work. They got Sheriff, I think they got Brandon Sheriff, so I feel like they worked on their line in free agency. Maybe they'll draft a tackle in the second round or third round or something, or a inside guy if they fall. But I just think it makes sense for them to take Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. Second pick, Detroit Lions. This one, it's a little tough, but I think I know why. Here's the thing: they released Trey Flowers, their edge, and when you release a guy who's pretty solid, like a solid guy like Trey Flowers, you're getting his replacement. And I think they go, you're going edge because you just got rid of Trey Flowers. You need to build back up that defense. You're not getting a quarterback this high. You're not getting a receiver this high. There aren't any guys like that, like top 5 kind of guys. And I don't trust Kyle Hamilton in top 5 just because of his positional value as a safety. Not quite as valuable as other positions. So you take Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's got an elite first step. He's pretty highly graded. He gets a lot of pressures, gets a lot of sacks. He's definitely not as developed as in Hutchinson, but so you could argue that he has more potential because of his elite first step and because of some other things with him. Kayvon Thibodeaux, edge out of Oregon, is my number 2 pick. Third pick, Houston Texans. Well, this one's not easy. They literally need every position, as PFF says. So I think they're going to get someone with huge upside. They just traded away Deshaun Watson, so they're not going to get a safe pick here. They're not going to go Evan Neal. They're not going to go Ahmad Gardner. I think they need someone who can be really good. Maybe he's going to be okay. Maybe he's not going to be good. But they're going to get someone who is absolutely a physical freak. A guy that's going to get pressure like Lovie Smith really likes with his teams. He likes creating pressure and then building everything after that. And just building everything based off that. A guy who's a huge riser recently after his amazing combine showing. He's clearly just a freak athlete and a great pass rusher. Trayvon Walker out of Georgia, edge. 3 edges, top 3 picks. Yeah, okay. I think that's what's gonna happen. New York Jets. This is interesting because they do need a few different positions. For me, I don't see a wide receiver going top 5. I don't think any of them are quite that good. So you're looking linebacker again. I don't see any of them going top 5. I don't think any of them are that good. So you need a DB, right? Kyle Hamilton? No, I don't think they're taking a safety this time. I don't think Kyle Hamilton he's a little overrated. Gonna be honest, he didn't have a great combine time, and if you're gonna be drafted top 5 as a position that's not super important, you gotta be the most athletic person ever. I think he's great. I think he's got great skills. He's gonna be able to kind of get rid of mismatches. So I think he's definitely worth taking top 10. Top 5, I don't see it. I think the Jets need a corner, and you could say Stingley, I like Ahmad Gardner more, okay? He hasn't given up a single touchdown in his career, despite playing for so long. He doesn't allow a lot of yards. He was on a young, great Cincinnati defense, and he's ideal size. He's big for the position, but he's got the size. He's got everything. He's polished. He's going to be good day 1, but he has more room to develop. He's my highest graded quarterback by a bit, and I really like him here going to the Jets. Next up, you have the New York Giants, okay? They're building around Daniel Jones, okay? Maybe it's the right decision, maybe it's not. That's what they're doing. They brought in Brian Dable for a reason. He turned Josh Allen from a guy who got who was just a running back, a quarterback essentially, who just threw like 3,000 yards, wasn't very efficient, and he turned him into a true dual threat, a guy who can beat you at the ground, who's going to dominate you on the ground, but also throw for 4,500 yards, pass for 40 touchdowns, 10 interceptions kind of guy. And I think they're hoping Daniel Jones' similar skill set with his speed, with his running ability, as well as some potential as a thrower. So they brought that guy in. So they need guys to help him. Right? They got Kadarius Toney last year. So here, and there's no tight end they really need. So here, it is an offensive lineman. And for me, it's the guy who's the best at run blocking, right? It's the beast. It's the phenom. Ikem Ekwonu, or Icky for sure, out of North Carolina State tackle. I just think he's great. He got a great grade. He's super dominant run blocker. And, I just think it makes sense for this team. I think he really fits into their scheme. And I think he's going to be good. He's a little raw, but you can just see his potential when you watch him play. Carolina Panthers at pick 6. This one's tough. Some people have to take Malik. It's possible. Okay, it's very possible, especially if they don't get a quarterback. However, I don't think you can take Malik top 6. I don't think he's quite that guaranteed. He's a little too risky, probably to take top 6. I think Carolina, they're not competing this year. Brady returned to the division. They're not going to be going for the playoffs this year. So I think you build around your future. And one of the best, Evan Neal, widely considered to be the number 1 overall pick only a month ago, still here, still falls to you. He's super polished. And, he's very good already. I think he might be the most NFL-ready guy possibly in this whole draft. He's out of Alabama. He's big. He's strong. He's smart. He has great technique. There's nothing about him that's not going to be good. He's probably a top half kind of tackle right when he enters the league. I don't think he's going to be the best tackle ever in existence, but I don't think you can really miss with him. And I think they're going to build for next year, but there are going to be a ton of good quarterbacks. This year, as you probably know, is a little bit of a down year for quarterback talent. Next year is not. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and many more. Spencer Rattler, if he's able to improve. You got all these guys next year. So I think Carolina says, let's take the best guy on the board. Let's take the guy who's going to be very solid. Let's take the guy at a huge position of need. Evan Neal, Alabama, tackle, pick 6, Carolina. Next up, 7th pick, New York Giants. This is from Chicago. They already protected their quarterback, so I think they gotta go defense. Their defense wasn't great last year. It was kind of a sleeper defense. At least I thought, maybe it's gonna be good. No, it was not. There were a lot of issues, but I just think it comes down to here. It comes down to who's on the board. Who's still here. I don't think they're gonna reach for Devin Lloyd or George Karlaftis. I think they just go with a guy who's really good, a guy who's going to be able to alleviate some mismatches. As I said earlier, Kyle Hamilton at number 7. I'm not taking him at number 4, but number 7, 100%. I think he, maybe safety isn't as valuable, but it's becoming more valuable. Now, the NFL is more requiring talent, speed, athleticism, and versatility. You see guys like Cordell Patterson, kind of revitalizing his career. So Kyle Hamilton, safety, Notre Dame to the Giants at number 7. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, they've got 3 positions I think they can draft: wide receiver, corner, and D-line. No way it's corner. They just got AJ Terrell. I don't think it's possible they go corner here because they just got Terrell. They're not going to get another really good young guy. It doesn't make sense to me. If you draft a corner recent, you're not going to get another one. You're going to try to fill that free agency. You're going to try to have another guy develop. You're not getting that with a top 10 pick after you already have an elite corner. So, to me, that doesn't make sense. Wide receiver could happen, but I think you're forgetting that they're not competing this year. Assuming Marcus Mariota, unless Marcus Mariota turns into the best quarterback in the league, which isn't going to happen, right? They're not competing. Their defense isn't very good. Their offense isn't very good. So, I think they're just going to take a guy. I think they're honestly going to take a guy who's got a lot of potential and is going to help out their biggest hole in their roster. So you may think that's wide receiver because Calvin Ridley. You're wrong. Guess what? Okay, they had the least sacks in the league last year, and it was not even close. T.J. Watt by himself had more sacks. That should not be allowed. Seriously, how does a whole team have less sacks than one player? Mind-boggling. And they also lost some of their pass rushers. So they got worse than by far the worst in the league. They're getting a pass rusher. They're getting Jermaine Johnson, okay? It could be Karlaftis. out of Purdue, but I think it's going to be Jermaine Johnson the second out of Florida State. When you look at these guys, Karlaftis is a power rusher, right? He beats you with power. He doesn't have a lot of leg. He can't beat you off the edge. He can't bend like that. He's got some issues with trying to go for that. When you look at Karlaftis, you say, okay, he's going to be solid day one. He's going to get, at minimum 5 sacks. Saying, no, this guy he's not going to be a top 10 pick. He doesn't have enough upside. He's going to be solid. He's going to be solid. He's probably going to be in the NFL for 10 years, excluding some weird injury. He's solid. He's a power rusher. He's got good technique. He's going to get 7 sacks a year, But he's not a guy who's going to be amazing. Jermaine Johnson, he might not be good. There's a chance. But he can beat you with outside. He can beat you inside. He was great in the Senior Bowl. And when, Senior Bowl is some of the best guys. So I think they take the guy who's got a little more upside, who's, played well in the Senior Bowl, over someone who's got a little less upside and not, just not quite as, just much of an athlete. Next up, Seattle Seahawks. Okay, I think they have 2 needs here: line, quarterback, and then you could say linebacker, quarterback, or edge. Really, they could take anyone here. For me, it's about scheme fit, right? You look at a guy like Malik Willis, okay? Malik Willis he's so much like Russ, They're both a little on the small end. They're both runners. I think people forget how good of a running quarterback Russ is, especially earlier in his career. He was running for 700, 800 yards every year. I mean, and St. Malik's very similar in that way. He's got a huge, he's got huge potential with this big time throw rate and stuff. He's got a crazy arm. Yeah, he has some issues. Sometimes he tries to force throws. Sometimes he's not accurate. Sometimes he misses stuff, but he's able to read a defense pretty well. He's clearly got the physical talent, and he fits their scheme. I just think everything lines up here for them to take a guy who is very good and fits their scheme because he's so similar to Russ. They don't need to change around a million things. They can go from Russ and transition right into Malik. Maybe he sits for a year, behind Drew Lock and develops. But maybe he doesn't. I think he just fits their scheme well, and they're not going to need to adjust stuff, and that's one of the most tough things when you bring in a new quarterback is seeing how they're going to adjust. So I have the Seattle Seahawks at pick 9, taking Malik Willis, quarterback liberty. First quarterback off the board. Next up, the New York Giants is the last pick of the first round. The second first round top 10 pick for the New York Jets, who, they're the Jets. So, and this one was actually from the Seahawks for that Jamal Adams trade, already looking like a good trade. So, you got the Jets here, right? Okay. They already took their defensive player. They clearly didn't help out Zach Wilson. So, they're going to go offense. They have Mekhi Becton. They have Elijah Barrett-Tucker. So, I don't see them going tackle or guard or I don't see them going line, okay? They got Uzama. They're going wide receiver here. For me, it's the guy who's going to take up the most attention. The guy who was off to an absolute tear in his last season. The guy from USC, 6'5", wide receiver, Drake London. He's my highest graded receiver, and I think that's who the Jets are going to take. I just think it makes sense. You need a big guy, a guy who Zach Wilson can just sling the ball to, a guy who's proven, and I think he's going to come back strong, and he's very deserving of a top 10 pick. So that's top 10. Now, next up, the Washington Commanders. Okay, originally I thought they were going to take linebacker Devin Lloyd. I actually thought Kyle Hamilton might fall at one point. Yeah, that's not happening. Quarterback, I just think, they just traded for Wentz, right? They're going to try him out for a year. And what does Wentz need? He needs a good system. He's been kind of mediocre to bad for his career, except in 2017 when he was an MVP candidate on the Eagles. Why was that? He had good receivers, he had good line play, and he had some solid running backs. I think the Commanders have 2 of those things. They have a solid line. They have great running backs in Antonio Gibson, who does fumble a little bit, but he's still very talented and can fix that. And J.D. McKissick, who they just re-signed. They have a good line, like I said. And they have McLaurin, but they need another guy besides him. They can't have McLaurin do all the work because Wentz can't just pass to McLaurin, right? They're going to double cover him even more than before. And they got Curtis Samuel to try to fix this last year. He was hurt and he wasn't very good even when he played, so I don't think he's the answer as their WR2. However, a guy that could develop under Scary Terry and could be the WR2, maybe even a WR1, is Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. He's great. He can separate. He has speed. He has good grades by PFF. He's just great. I think he's the guy here. And, he got some yards, even with another guy who's probably going to be drafted in the first round next to him. So, next up, you have the Minnesota Vikings, they had two needs going. He needed this edge and quarterback, okay? They got Stereo Smith, so edge isn't a need anymore. Quarterback, they re-signed Pat Pete, but I think he's not a guy for the future. He's a 1 or 2 year, he's going to be there for a little bit, and he's going to mentor someone. So, look at the guy with the most upside, Derek Stingley. He was amazing before he got hurt, and he kind of wasn't as good. He tapered off a little bit. He wasn't very good last year in the few games he played. But before that, he was elite. He was amazing. So, I just think, I think he's gonna, with that development, with Pat Pete, with all that potential, I think he's gonna go to the Minnesota Vikings at number 12. I can't draft him top 10 because of the issues and not being, being very boomer bust here. Next up, we have the Houston Texans. Originally I had them going wide at some point, but they didn't trade Larry Tunsil, so why would they go line? That doesn't make sense. They did every position, I guess except line, and it seems like they're sticking with Davis Mills. So, you already took someone on defense, so let's go on the other side of the ball. Let's get someone to help Davis Mills out. Okay, their best receiver last year was Brandon Cooks. I mean, it's Brandon Cooks, and he was solid, but he wasn't. He's just not. He's not a guy who you could really build a team around, right? So let's take a guy who, he's a little bit risky with his injury, with his ACL in the national championship, but he's clearly great. I think if he didn't have that, he would be in consideration for one of the top guys. He's explosive. He's a great deep threat. Out of Alabama, Jameson Williams. At pick 13 to the Houston Texans. Next up, Baltimore Ravens. They don't really have a lot of needs. They've got a ton of great DBs. Let me try to name them. Marcus Williams, the other guy. They got Williams. They have Peters. They have Humphrey, right? Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, and Marcus Williams. They have all these good guys at DB. So I don't think they need a DB. I think they need a D lineman. So you look at the D lineman available. I think you'd take really any of these guys. Yeah, it's really tough. Look, these are all the top 3 guys here, and this is maybe one of the hardest picks for me. You know what? I'm gonna have to go George Karlaftis, edge out of Purdue. I think he is solid. I think the Ravens need more solid players. Yeah, I think they're going George Karlaftis, edge. Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, so the one need they obviously need is cornerback because. Darius Slay isn't going to be there forever, but he's going to be a great mentor. He's going to be a great guy to develop under and develop a talent like Trent McDuffie out of Washington. Boom. Great coverage skills. Just great everything, He's a little small, but it doesn't matter. Like, he plays bigger. He's just great, and he doesn't allow scores. I don't really know what to say. He's just really good. Like, I think he's a guy the Eagles will take here. The next pick, this one is much tougher. Well, you could take an edge here, but I think that's a little too early. They wanted an edge. They really did. But they tried to address it the best they could. They brought back Derek Barnett. They brought in Son Reddick. So, here they can go with a lot of different guys. You look at Devin Lloyd. You're looking at, maybe a Jordan Davis. I think they can go with a lot of different guys here. And, I think they need linebackers. I think they really do. And... but they also need a DI to replace Fletcher Cox. So I think it's tough here. And, I think the Eagles pull an Eagles here, and they say, we aren't drafting a linebacker this early. So they take Jordan Davis out of Georgia. He had a great combine. He's really fast for a huge guy. I mean, he's huge, but he's fast. He's great at run stopping. And, he might be, I think he definitely has potential to develop into a pass rusher. Chargers. They have one position of need. They got Mike Williams back. They don't need receiver. They don't need corner. They got a J.C. Jackson. So, they need DI. Who's the best DI available? Devonta White. Simple. New Orleans Saints, okay? Best player available. Charles Cross is still here. They lost Teron Armstead. Charles Cross, okay? Really easy picks. Philadelphia Eagles, this one's also easy. Devin Lloyd somehow fell to 19 just because none of these guys outside the top 10 really need a linebacker. Devin Lloyd's great. I have him ranked pretty highly. And, he's very good. I think the Eagles say, if he's still here, let's take him. Boom. Steelers. Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, especially Buddy Mitch, does not seem like the future answer. They could take, I think they would have taken Charles Cross if he fell. But I think it comes down to, we need a backup plan to our backup plan. And that's Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, which, Pittsburgh. He's great. I think he's pretty NFL ready, so I think you give him a year or even play him right away. He's going to be good. Small hands is not really that much of an issue. I mean, he played fine, in college, so I don't see why it would be that big of an issue. Maybe fumbles a little more, but whatever. Pats here, they could go with a few different guys, honestly. But I think you're looking at linebacker and you're looking at quarterback. It's not easy. This decision is difficult because they did lose a lot of, a lot of guys. They lost a lot of, but I think it comes down to they have no one at linebacker, like literally no one. I mean, you look at their linebacker depth and it's just like, ugh. They could find a way to survive with whatever corners they want, but they need some linebacker depth. I think they take Andrew or Nakobe Dean here. So next up, you have the Green Bay Packers at pick 22. You probably think, I'm going to take Chris Olave. No, I like Jahan Dotson more, okay? He's smaller, but I think how he's able to overcome his height makes him top, higher ranked for me than Chris Olave because he's able to fight through contact. He catches all of his targets, and he also has great stats. He got almost 1,200 receiving yards, which is something Chris Olave cannot say. I mean, look at that. 900? Come on. Arizona Cardinals here. They need interior line. That's the one thing they really need. Tyler Linderbaum's still here. He's going to be one of the best centers in the league the day he steps in. He's the highest graded PFF player or center ever. So I just think this is a no-brainer. Cowboys, I think they need line, both lines they need, honestly. But for me, there aren't any great D linemen left. So I think they just got to go with the tackle they want here because interior line, again, isn't quite as good. And they need another tackle. They just lost Niall Collins. So Trevor Penning over Bernard Raymond. Trevor Penning, he had a better combine. He's more dominant. He's really just, And they just signed Zeke to that big contract, which wasn't the best idea, but whatever. Buffalo Bills here. This one's tough, but with Andrew Booth still on the board, you're like, maybe we should take Andrew Booth. But for me, what it comes down to is they already have Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde and Tre'Davious White. That's 3 elite secondary players. They're not getting a 4th. No team would do that. So you take another position of need. Wide receiver. Traylon Burks. He's big. He's fast. Is he the best player? Maybe not. But I think he will be very good with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. Kind of being that WR2 and develop under Stephon Diggs. Next up, Tennessee Titans. Okay, they need interior line. They lost a few guys to free agency. I know they lost Roger Saffold. So you take the best guard available, Zion Johnson. Okay, simple. Buccaneers, they lost Kappa. They lost a few guys on the interior line. So, and they got Shaq Mason, but, they need another guy. So, Kenyon Green at one point was considered to be drafted very high. I mean, look at this. He was considered to be drafted very high, and he's still going to get drafted pretty high, I think. I think he's going right here to the Bucs. Next up is the Green Bay Packers. Again, they managed to get Bernard Raymond to fall into their laps, so they take him. They need to upgrade their tackle a little bit. Get that offense really revitalized for Rodgers. Kansas City Chiefs here, okay? They need 2 things. They need corner, and they need wide receiver. They lost Tyreek Hill, obviously, and they need someone to replace him. Chris Olave, similar skill set. He's a deep threat. He's got good route running. He's, a little bit, a little unsmall. Not that small, though. He didn't have great stats, but he was the WR2 to Garrett Wilson. So I think he goes here. And they need quarterback because they lost Trevarius Ward to free agency. Now they have no one as a quarterback, so Andrew Booth. I think it's a steal there. I think those 2 are easy. Cincinnati Bengals here. They can take a few guys. They really did address their line in free agency, though. They got Alex Kappa. They got Niall Collins. They got some other solid guys. So I don't think they go light here. They really did address that free agency very well. I love their free agency. So I think you got to go with another position of need. It's a position where Eli Apple's your best quarterback, possibly. Besides maybe Chidobe Awuzie. But I think it's between 2 guys, Kyer Lamb and Roger McCreary. Jalen Peter and Daxton Hill are going to be safeties in the NFL. Kyer Lamb, definitely a little more raw. He's really physical. He's talented. But his PFF grade wasn't great. You look at Roger McCreary, he's the opposite. I just think, he doesn't have quite as much potential. He's not very, he has a lack of length that's a little concerning. But he does have good stats. And, he's smooth, right? He's just very, I think he's a little more polished. But I don't think you take a guy like him here with those issues and concerns and not as much of a ceiling quite in the first round. So I think we take Kyrie Lamb here. I like this pick. Next up, you have the Detroit Lions. I think they take the quarterback of the future here. For me, it is not Sam Howell. I think he's, you know what? Hot take, I don't think Sam Howell is going to be any good. I think his best ability was kind of breaking tackles and stuff, and that's not going to work in the NFL level as much. If you take a step back in college, you're not going to be a great passer in the pros. That just doesn't make sense, right? And his break tackle ability is probably not going to be as good. We didn't see him test. He was hurt. I think he's got too many concerns. For me, I take a guy who was fast at the combine. I take a guy who's pretty physically talented and started for 4 years. A guy with experience, Desmond Ridder. Boom. That's my mock draft. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. I will be making more of these as I kind of improve my mock draft. In fact, I tried to record this once and I ended up kind of not liking the mock draft as much, so I redid it. Part of this I even did a little off script. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel and comment down below how bad my takes are. How bad the Jahan Dotson take is. How bad Chris Olave, whatever, and some of these other ones are. Just tell me what you think of my full mock draft. And here it is, all zoomed out and whatever. So hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, that's about it. See ya.